the previous videos, we mentioned about the discussions for the result as acquired from your research study. We know that discussions normally come immediately after you have presented the results, and the discussions normally focus on the prominent results, and there will be comparisons with the reported outcome from your literature review. We mentioned about the key elements of the discussions, which include the interpretations, implications, limitations, and recommendations. We also mentioned that different researchers will approach the result differently, which is mainly due to different aspects or the perspective that the researchers are looking into when they intend to discuss their results. Nevertheless, there are still principles governing how you do the discussions. In these videos, we're going to discuss further regarding how you're going to write your discussions. It is very much dependent on the purpose of writing the discussions, whether you would like to summarize your key finding, to give your interpretations, to discuss the implications, to acknowledge the limitations, or to state your recommendations. We shall look into the descriptions for every single one of them, as given in the second column here, as well as how it is being expressed, as given by the examples in the final column here. Without further ado, let us look into one by one. First, when you want to summarize your key findings, what you can do here is reiterating your research problem and concisely summarizing your main findings. You know that your research is carried out with purposes. The purpose is to resolve some problem that initiate your research. Therefore, your focus of the discussions should not deviate from the purpose. Your key findings should be intended to resolve the problem. Therefore, your major findings should be strongly correlated to your research problem. These are several examples that you can use in order to summarize your key finding, such as the results indicate that the study demonstrates a correlation between what and what. The analysis supports the theory that the data suggests that, and so on so forth. Next, if you want to give your interpretations, this can be achieved by identifying the correlations, patterns, and relationship among the data. Also, you can discuss whether the result meets your expectations or support your hypothesis. You may also contextualizing your findings within previous research and theory, explain unexpected results, and evaluate their significance. You may also consider possible alternative explanations and making an argument for your positions. Basically, interpretations is reflecting how you see the results and data, what kind of information is provided by the data and the result, how you can utilize those. Normally, there will be some expectations in terms of how the result looks like, which are normally based on the logical thinkings or the prior knowledge as acquired from the literature review. In the case that the result come out beyond your expectations, or if the result appears to be quite suspicious to you, which in your opinion there could be some errors or mistakes, then you will need to discuss those. Sometimes the result gives you a new perspective or a new technical insights which you never thought of and not being implied by your prior understanding as acquired from your literature review. It is also worth discussing. You may discuss at the principle level. You may also discuss at the theoretical level and even the relationship among the parameters. It is all about how you read the results and what does it mean to you. These are a few examples when you are giving your interpretations in the discussion sections. For example, in line with the hypothesis, and then contrary to the hypothesized associations, the result contradicts to the claim by somebody that the result might suggest that X. However, based on the findings of the similar study, a more plausible explanation it would be Y. The first example here is used when your result and finding is in line to what you have expected before you carry out the investigations. The second example is used when it contradicts to your hypothesis. The third and the fourth examples are used when you have prior understanding, which is different than what you have acquired from your investigation program. Next, you would like to discuss the implications. It is about, do your result agree with the previous research? If so, what do they add to it? You are talking about the contributions of your research study. Are your findings very different from other study? If so, why might this be? This one is meant for comparison with the previous study. Do the results support or challenge the existing theory? This is also in comparison with the existing principles and theories as acquired from your literature review. Or are there any practical implications? When you are talking about the implications, it is normally associated with the contributions to the research community as well as to the pool of knowledge. You should offer something which is significant, adding to the pool of knowledge, or you have different opinions from the previous existing theories. You are actually offering another possible directions of considerations or implying the limitations of the existing principles and theories. Either way is actually contributing to the research community as well as the field of study. These are some examples which you can discuss the implications, such as these results built on existing evidence of. That means your results is actually in line with the existing principles, and then most likely you're going to add on to what is existing in order to elevate the value of your research study. Or the second example, the results do not fit with the theory that means this shows the differences between your result and the existing theory. Then we will expect you're going to explain why immediately after you highlight the differences between the existing theory. The experiment provides a new insight into the relationship between. That means it is now giving something new for the research community to think about it, which may not be considered by the previous researchers. We will expect you to give and indicate what are the new insights and how it is going to be impactful to the research community. The results should be taken into account when considering how to. That means it gives an idea in terms of the applications or usage of the results. The data contributes a clearer understanding of. That means you are offering something new or offering something which is more refined as compared to what have been understood by the previous researchers. While the previous research has focused on X, this result demonstrates that Y. That means you are distinguishing your results from the previous studies which are not being considered previously. What you see here when you discuss the implications, it will be more towards your contributions to the knowledge, and often this will be the novelty of your research study. And remember that you will need to carefully construct the statement using the appropriate terminology, particularly in the expressions in terms of the degree of something, or while you're claiming for something which is not known by the previous researcher. You have to be sure your claim must be true. You cannot simply make a statement without proper justifications for the sake that to draw the attentions of the readers, and this could mislead the readers. Imagine you are now posting an important statement, which any of this example is actually giving a strong message to the reader that the reader should pay attention on the things that you are about to say in your discussions. You don't want to mislead your reader, either intentionally or unintentionally. Imagine you have to be responsible for all the statements that you have made, and whichever statement that you have made, it will remain published and traceable, which you cannot simply wipe off when you realize that it is wrong. Next, you are talking about the acknowledgement of the limitations. This is a way to demonstrate your credibility, but bear in mind that the limitation isn't about listing your error, but it is about providing accurate pictures of what can and cannot be concluded from your study. You know that listing your errors is telling somebody that your result and findings cannot work. That is not the purpose of your study, because you should have already eliminated this error by the time that you present your result and come to the discussions. It is more about to give the reader what is it all about, any limitations of the results, that the reader should not go beyond certain boundaries in terms of the interpretations or the applications of the findings as acquired from your results. It is to prevent yourself to overclaim the applications of your finding, and to prevent the readers to apply your theories within the regions that you do not cover and claim that it is the work of you. You can consider this as something like disclaimer, which you do not wish to take responsibility on whichever that you do not cover that have been misunderstood by the reader, assuming that you are actually covering those. These are a few examples when you want to acknowledge the limitations. The generalizability of the result is limited by, that means now you are actually doing some generalizations of your result and finding, but with certain limited boundary, or with certain defined applicable scopes, or the reliability of this data is impacted by, that means it's outlined the conditions where the reliability of the data cannot be assured or guaranteed, or due to the lacking of the data on X, the result cannot confirm that. That means it provides some reasons for the limitations, as well as defining the boundary or highlighting the areas which the findings is not applicable. And then the methodological choice will constrain by, again this is providing you boundary and constraint of the methodology that you use in your research study. It is beyond the scope of the study to, that means it is define the applicable range as well as the scope of your study. Next, if your purpose is to state your recommendations, what you are doing is actually make recommendations for practical implementations for further study. Of course, sometimes you can save these recommendations for the conclusions, which you can choose to put it in the discussion section or you can put it in the conclusions. The example sentences for stating the recommendations are: further research is needed to what? And then further study should take into account of what? The recommendations can be on basis of your methodology being carried out, the scope of the study, how can the result be processed otherwise, and so on so far.